Hi, welcome to Edward Box Guitar Tuition. So my classic album inspection today is Night Ranger's sophomore album, Midnight Madness. This was released on October 26, 1983, and it's 40 years old today. So this is the first Night Ranger album I got. I was on holiday with my family. We bought a French rock magazine when we were away, and there's a Night Ranger feature. Couldn't understand any of it because my French wasn't very good, but they just looked like a good band to try out. And they had Brad Gillis in them, who was aware from Ozzy Osbourne, and I think I was partially aware that Jeff Watson might be a top guitar player as well. So that was enough for me. So when I got back off holiday, I went to a shop. I think I mentioned this before. There's a shop in my local city in Lancaster, a very small city near where I lived. It was in a Wilkinson's hardware store, and it had floor space in there. So I bought Bark at the Moon by Ozzy, and I bought Midnight Madness, about $4.99 each. Incidentally, totally random fact, the Aussie had the red lettering. I think you could get it with blue lettering, but some pressings had red lettering. I don't know if they're from different countries, but mine had the kind of red and yellow lettering, not the blue and yellow lettering. Okay, got that fact out of the way. So this album's 38 minutes and 56 seconds. It made number 15 in the US, and it went platinum. I think it's undoubtedly Night Ranger's most successful album. Sister Christian made number 5, and When You Close Your Eyes made number 14. So two very sizable hit of it. Obviously, Sister Christian's a well-known track. It's used in the Boogie Nights soundtrack, and a great scene in that film from 1997. It's a real staple of sort of classic AOR rock, and still gets played on the radio. So an interesting thing with Night Ranger is they've got two lead singers, Kelly Keegan, who tends to do the ballads and plays drums, a la Don Henley, and then Jack Blades, who plays bass and sings. In actual fact, on this album, Jack Blades writes 4 tracks entirely on his own, and then he co-writes another 1, 2, and 3, generally with Brad Gillis. Kelly Keegan writes Sister Christian himself, so good for him. He probably got good publishing off that. And Jeff Watson, another guitarist, only gets 1 co-write on the last track, Let Him Run, which is an acoustic track with 12-string guitar, and that was one of his specialisms. So the opening tracks you can still rock in America. So this starts off with a cool whammy by Brad on the A string, and then the riffing comes in. Got a nice clean rhythm guitar sound on this. I think I've got a criticism on the production on this album. It's just the drum sounds a little tepid, the snare. Kind of similar to Dawn Patrol. They're produced by Pat Glasser. So their first 3 albums have a very similar sound. The next album, I think Big Life, was that produced by Ron Neverson, or was it Keith Olsen? I think Keith Olsen did Man in Motion. Can't remember who did Big Life to hand. But those were probably better sounding albums, but probably went a bit more enlarged, a bit more 80s. So to me, Night Ranger never quite had the production quality of, say, Journey or a band like that, but they always had their own sound. It always sounded good on radio. And incidentally, on this track, Glenn Hughes does backing vocals. I think Glenn Hughes was doing quite a lot of backing vocals in the 80s. He didn't seem to do much work other than the stuff with Gary Moore and his brief tenure in Sabbath. But anyway, listening to the track, you can maybe hear him in there. So this track's 4 minutes 16. It's a classic sort of Night Ranger, all-American track. And I think it shows the strengths of the band. It's 4:16. It's catchy. Great vocal from Jack Blades, good backing vocals as well. Probably got Kelly Keegan in there. Alan Fitzgerald's keyboards kind of fitting well. I mean, Alan Fitzgerald's keyboards on Night Ranger, he sometimes uses sounds that have dated it a little bit. Some of those kind of sound choices weren't always the best, but having said that, they're quite sort of unique. The Night Ranger's kind of keyboard sound choices. You only kind of find those on Night Ranger. So again, it kind of makes it stand out, really. And it has a great solo that shows off Gillis and Watson. It basically, I think Night Ranger is one of those bands where, with the twin guitar attack, it's a lesson to bands playing with 2 guitars, because not only do they have the harmonies, but they find a balance of styles where it's Brad or it's Jeff generally, but also they manage to find space for each other without it seeming like the guitar's too excessive. So, typically they'll have trade-off solos, or one guy do a solo for one track and another guy will do one for the other. And I imagine if you saw them live at that time, you would have got a pretty good percentage balance of Brad and then Jeff, kind of similar to Smith and Murray, I guess. So like Brad does his crazy whammies, so he's kind of renowned for using harmonics and pulling up on the bar, and so on. And then Jeff does some cool sort of pentatonic stuff, and then he goes into an 8-finger tapping passage. And this was the first time he demonstrated and showed off this technique. it's fairly limited what he does with the eight finger tapping. He's got sort of set licks he does Jeff Watson. He never got it how it is now with a lot of YouTube players and TJ Heimlich, where they're playing scalar runs over the neck of Daniele Gottardo. But the difference is there is Jeff Watson's doing this eight finger tapping in arenas to 15,000 people. And he's selling platinum albums and getting MTV airplay with his solos, whereas the YouTube generation of players are generally confined to that. It doesn't have the commercial reach. Track 2, 433. This is great. Maybe the best track on the album, Rumours in the Air. Really good. Quite cool keyboard line on this. Nice the way it builds. Great. Brad solo on this. He does some cool flicking of the bar at the end of the solo and then pulls his high harmonic up, which I love. Really cool track. Then track 3 is Why Does Love Have to Change? So if I'm looking sideways, I've got the C down a couple of notes. This is 3:49, so it's a bit of a sort of short track. Really like this. Kelly Keagy sings this. Nice sort of mood on the verse and then a cool chorus, and it's got a top harmony guitar solo on it from Brad and Jeff, where they do a nice sort of really melodic kind of natural minor into a little bit of harmonic minor type thing. And then 5 minutes and 3 seconds is Sister Christian. This is the centerpiece of the album. This is the big hit. Really good, really cool lyric. Classic Brad Gillis guitar solo. One of the great rock radio guitar solos, this. He uses feedback, he uses the whammy bar pitch notes. And he does another thing he does where he'll play like a double stop bend type of thing, and then he'll wrench the bar and dive as well. But when Brad Gillis does all this stuff, sometimes he'll go mental with the bar, but generally it's very controlled. So he's using slurring, he's using flutters, he's pulling the bar up correctly to pitch or dipping it down to pitch. Very good. I would say his style's more distinctive than Jeff's, simply for that reason. It's easier to spot a Brad solo than a Jeff. Next track's Touch of Madness. This is open the original side 2 on the vinyl. This is a Jack Blades composition. This is good. It's a rocker. This is a bit of a heavier, probably the heaviest track so far, aside from Rockin' America. Not as much keyboards on this. The end section of this has got a cool fade out solo where Brad goes absolutely mental on the whammies. He just kind of goes for it. He's actually got like a harmonised solo in the middle, which kind of got octaves and another harmony tracked in it. Really cool. Kind of the solo in this in the middle is kind of just more melodic and plays a nice counterpoint to the rest of the song. Then you've got Passion Play. This is 4 minutes 43. Again, I think Jackson's this a Jack Blade composition. Really good, really like this track, really good chorus, nice moody verse. Again, like there's something on this album, a lot of the tracks kind of drop down to kind of moody verse with kind of keyboard pads and so on. I'm trying to think what the solos, Brad does some whammy bar pitchy on this, pretty subtle, and Jeff comes in with some cool pentatonic shit, I think. He might do the outro solo, actually, Jeff. He does a cool kind of pentatonic lick, like he does arpeggio type lick, like he did on Don't Tell Me You Love Me, off the Dawn Patrol album. Then you've got When You Close Your Eyes, track 7. This is 419. I think this was like I said, a minor hit in the US. Well, fairly big hit, number 14. Nice guitar intro on this from Brad, doing some nice whammies. Not one of the best tracks on, but it's a good catchy track. There's not a bad track on this album. Is it better than Dawn Patrol? Some people prefer Dawn Patrol, I do, but this album's getting better. Dawn Patrol's a little more rocky, but really two really strong albums from Night Ranger. And then 413 in length, Chipping Away. This is a good track. Getting some cool lead break from Jeff on this. Really catchy chorus. It's quite rocky. Nice keyboard lines in this. Good vocal from Jack Blades. And then the album finishes with Let 'Em Run. 3 minutes 29. This is a really nice acoustic number. It's just acoustic guitar, keyboard pads, Jeff playing 12 string. No solo, but it shows Jeff's skill with the acoustic guitar. Like he picks a really lovely part. This is actually written by Jeff, Jack Blades and Kelly Keagy, so Kelly Keagy sings it, so maybe he's done the melodies or some of the lyrics. But I really like it. Nice way to finish. Yeah, I like when albums finish with like a nice mellow acoustic track. If you get it right, it's really good. Sorayas, When the Blackbirds Sing would be another album where you've got a nice track like that at the end, and numerous others. So yeah, this is a really strong record. I think this record gets kind of better for me every time I put it on. I'm like, oh, it's you know, when I first got it, I liked some of it, others less. I preferred. I think Seven Wishes was always my favourite Night Ranger album, but that's kind of suffers from being sort of Midnight Madness Part 2 a bit, and there's 2 or 3 tracks that don't work on that album. It's a 6, got maybe 7 out of 10. I think that was platinum for them, but they were kind of repeating the formula a little bit. There's a track called Sentimental Street, which is kind of Sister Christian Part 2, which I like, and then there's Goodbye as well, but because I had hits with the ballads, it was kind of like, well, you've got to do that. And that kind of became a pattern that was hard for me to get out of. And the next album, Big Life Went Gold, which is a better record than I originally thought. It was always, you know, the weakest album for me, but it's actually better. Not as good as the ones before. Man in Motion kind of rocks harder, but it's got more filler tracks. But by that point, the band was sort of, you know, the commercial era, success was over. But Dawn Patrol and Midnight Madness, this one's the 2 to sort of really check out. But yeah, this album, 40 years old today. Yeah, check it out. And yeah, see you again soon. Remember to share and subscribe if you like these videos. Cheers, thanks.